They refer to these as the women in lunatic cells. She hung herself like right in here. 4 of the kids passed away. Something keeps touching my butt. Do you need help moving the ghost from the jail on?
So at the end of the day, you would say that this jail's haunted, in your opinion?
No doubt, yeah. He said when he turned around, there was a man's face right there, dead center, staring at him.
San Marcos, Texas, a town with a heavy relationship with the water and the springs that surround the city. This may be one reason why San Marcos is so haunted. We found ourselves at the old Hays County Jail just over a week ago, and the night that we had that night in that haunted building was absolutely groundbreaking. The evidence we captured, totally compelling. And let me tell you, the stories of this place, serial killers, hangings, lynchings, they could go on for days, and they're all so interesting. Anyways, it's Colin here. Buckle your seatbelts, this one is spooky, and welcome to the Paranormal Files.
These apartments here, and then they're building those apartments down there, so they're having to enlarge all the drainage.
Oh.
So
All right.
originally, these are
Here, let's start this off. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Linda Coker with Hays County Historical Commission. Welcome to our Hays County 1884 stone jail. In the process of restoring, so forgive our mess. We'll start over here in the jailer's office. Originally, this was the jailer's office. A lot of times the sheriff did all his work out of here, but most of the time there was a separate jailer from the sheriff, and the sheriff had offices in the county courthouse, which is 2 blocks away. A lot of times jailers lived on the property, and their wives would do the cooking and the cleaning and the taking care of the prisoners, other than actual being with the prisoners. And most of that happened over in this room. There was a cook stove in here, and this was where the food would be passed through to the prisoners, because women were never allowed into the cell room. There's just one big room where the cells were, which you'll see in a minute. And so this is where they would live if they needed to.
Not bad.
And then over here, we'll go upstairs in a minute.
Okay.
This is our cell. Originally, it was a 2-story cell, was 3-sided. There was a catwalk around the top for the upper floors. There were 6 to 8 people on each floor. Like I said, the food was passed in through here, and then there was the stairs over here, and the doors were on this side. And the funny thing is, when I contacted the company that we have the invoice that created the cells, they never even knew they made 2-story cells. So these are not the original cells. These cells were actually used in the filming of the movie The Newton Gang. They had Matthew McConaughey and, well, I don't know who else matters but him, were from that, when they were filming that movie in here.
Wow.
So, but this was, they would have anywhere from no prisoners to 12, 15 stacked in. Actually, we were so active that it was on the first page in the Austin newspaper in 1994 that the San Marcos jail has no inmates. Was first page news in Austin. So yeah, we were active. This jail, to give a little history, was actually built in response to the calaboose, which was the original San Marcos jail. A man committed suicide in the basement. Most of the African Americans were kept downstairs. They had they were so crowded in there that reports read that they would like roll over at night in unison because they were so crowded. They didn't have beds. They slept on the floor, and they would all roll over together. So a man had a letter snuck out to the newspaper about the horrendous conditions, and then killed himself to draw attention. And that's when the county in 1884 built this jail.
It's a very sad story.
Yeah, it's a very, very sad story. It was quite a sacrifice, but it worked. We've had one lynching out. The tree is, well, it's part of the tree that's out here The rest of the tree died, but we've had one known lynching here, and then we had one legal hanging out back in the backyard. It was a man named Benjamin Guerrero in 1934, I think it was, and he murdered his he was 31, I think. He murdered his 14-year-old girlfriend. Some reports say she was pregnant, some because she wouldn't marry him. So he murdered her. And anyway, so they hung him, and his last words were, "Fine show." No, that's what he said. So anyway, so there's a picture of him being hung out there. They built a scaffold trying to hide it, but somebody did get a picture. So we are in the process of restoring this. It's going to be a outlaw and lawman museum. Cool. And unfortunately, COVID put us back a year, but all this is old wood from the outside restoration that we saved to try to reuse.
It's pretty small in here.
Very small. Yeah, it's so small compared, like, from what you think it would be.
Yeah.
You're gonna repurpose all this wood though. Mm-hmm. So that's cool.
I have one piece of fascia that was taken off at home that I had 2 nails sticking out of it, and I put it up at Christmas, and I hang my husband and mine's Christmas stockings on it. It's those old-fashioned square nails. They're so cool.
Wow.
Anyway, so it's just hard to imagine, but the cells would have been it's about 3 feet. The catwalk would have been around, so it would have been about like this.
That's very small.
Very small.
Wow.
But it was 2-story, but there wouldn't been very tall stories. So if you were a tall man in here, it would have been bad.
Uh-oh.
But and the bars that you see were actually put in to hold the building together, like these the bars here when it was falling apart. Yeah. So, okay. So let's go upstairs and visit Anna.
Okay.
And there's kind of a dip there, but it's okay.
I love the just cracked
I was about to
walls.
say, I like the old.
Yeah.
I know.
It's really got a pretty crazy.
It used to be used as a haunted house for several years.
Really?
But I think it was the Kiwanis did it, or somebody did it. So this wall fell, because it used to be a solid wall here. So you would have come in this way. And it had no plumbing. The plumbing that's in here was actually put in by owners that were using it as a construction company after the county quit using it. So these cells, and this is Commissioner's Court documents, they refer to these as the women and lunatic cells. Wow. All in one breath. I guess this is the lunatic side because women were over here. I don't know. So I'm out of breath. Well, this is the cell where Anna hung herself. She actually hung herself kind of about like right there. Wow. So so there were 2 cells over here, and then Anna Hoftroff, I call her our resident haunt. She hung herself like right in here, pretty much.
So, can you just tell me that whole story of what she did and everything?
Anna. She was married and became a widow, and she was young. For life of me, I can't remember how old, but maybe in her 20s. But she married a man that had 11 kids, and 7 of the kids were still at home. And she reportedly was upset because the kids wouldn't do their chores. All they wanted to do was sit around and drink coffee. And she complained about that a lot. And but then I've also read newspaper reports where there was some disagreement about kids inheriting land because it came through their mother's family. And so there were some inheritance issues that Anna was having. 4 of the kids passed away within less than a year. Nobody really thought anything about it. This was in early 1920s, like 1923. Then Anna's husband became sick, and they lived in actually Uland, which is a little farming community right outside of San Marcos. They were bringing him to town in a buckboard, and he kept saying, "Check the coffee, check the coffee," and then he passed out. And they were bringing him to the Soldiers and Sailors Hospital. So the sheriff thought, well, that's kind of a weird thing to be saying when you're on your way to, I look like you're dying. Anyway, so the sheriff took a ride out to the house. Sure enough, there's a big old giant thing of arsenic under the porch. Anna basically confessed pretty quickly. She was arrested. Her brother was also arrested with her, although he was later released. He only spent, I think, 3 or 4 days in jail and then was released. They didn't have enough evidence against him. But Anna was charged with attempted murder of her husband. He did not die. And then murder. They started exhuming the kids because then they're like, wait a minute, that's so weird. So they started exhuming the kids, and they all had arsenic poisoning. So they had her trial. They ended up with a mistrial because her attorney ended up missing. He never showed up, and his clothes were found, and his ID, anyway, all his stuff was found on the edge of Town Lake in Austin. He was long gone. So they thought he committed suicide or something, or was killed or something. Anyway, so they declared a mistrial. Side note, he actually turned up in Edinburgh, Texas 10 years later and became the county judge of Edinburgh. So, but back to Anna, they reset her court date. Then she ended up pregnant, which I have asked her who the daddy was. She never answers me. She was in jail the whole time. Her husband was paralyzed from the waist down because of the poisoning. And supposedly the only people that ever came to see her was her attorney and the jailer and the sheriff. So who knows? I've asked her. Maybe she's telling us right now. So they set off her impending trial because they didn't want to be trying it was unseemly, it says on the newspaper, to try a woman with the death penalty that's holding life. Anyway, so on October 31st, Halloween in 1924, she said she was despondent over the impending loss of life while she was carrying life, was a note, what she left in a note, and hung herself right here.
Wow. And where would that have been in the room?
Like they say
here?
Right dead center. Just she cut her slip and hung herself with her slip.
From the rafters?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And apparently she had, from what I've read, it's kind of weird because newspapers back then were real, they elaborated a lot, so it's kind of hard to get the truth. You'll read, different newspapers will use where they're embellishing everything, so the real truth is kind of in there somewhere. But supposedly she had her stuff, she kept all her clothes and stuff in a suitcase, and she stood on the suitcase to tie the slip to hang her.
Wow. So I guess let's talk paranormal activity now.
Okay.
What are the reports? What's going on here?
Most often is men being bothered in this room. I was in here one time with a university news. We have the Texas State University. I was in here with the University Star, their newspaper, reporter and photographer. And the reporter was a guy, and he kept and he's like, something keeps touching my butt. And I said, well, it's probably Anna because she messes with the guys. And she finally did it so hard that he left and went and stood across the street and went and come back in the building. So it's usually the guys she messes with. Now, a new report about 8 months ago, I don't think it's been quite a year, one of our maintenance guys were on the grounds mowing, and one guy was on the riding mower mowing, and another guy had the weed eater around the building, and he kept hearing something, and he turned around thinking that the guy on the riding mower was talking to him, and he's like, the guy didn't pay any attention to him. So when he turned back around, and it's not in this window, but this window on the first floor, like underneath that window, he said when he turned around, there was a man's face right there, dead center, staring at him. Just the face, nobody.
Wow.
Said they packed up their stuff and left, and he hasn't been back. So San Marcos Paranormal Group's been here a couple of times, and one time, the first time they came, I didn't tell them anything about Anna until they were finished. And then I was talking about Anna, and I said, Anna, if I get your story wrong, stop and correct me. And on the tape, you can hear something say, I will. So that was pretty cool. And then one time, this woman, I was out in the yard, and this woman that was, I do tours a lot for bus tours that they'll call the CVB and say, hey, we're gonna tour San Marcos, what can we go see? Anyway, so I'll do tours of the city. And I had a tour group here, and this lady goes, this man wants to know why you're here all the time. And there was no man around. I'm like, well, what man? And she goes, this man, he stays over here. Anyway, so apparently there was an African-American man that stays in the calaboose was asking her to ask me, why am I here all the time?
Weird.
So anyways, that was kind of strange. I told her to tell him I'm the one with the keys to the building, so I'm the one here. And just little stuff like that.
So would you say that this is the most active part?
This is the most
This
active
room
part.
specifically?
Yeah.
From Anna?
For Anna. Yeah, when I walk in the building, I talk to her. Because if she don't want to leave, I'm not going to force. And actually, okay, I don't know if you can edit this part out, but I'll just tell you this story. We adopted 3 grandkids about 3 years ago. And the very first Mother's Day after the adoption, came and went. Nobody noticed it at all. So I'm doing the female thing, like just, pouting. I'm not going to mention it. Oh, hell no. It's like, no. And I'm just pouting. It was weird. The next day, I got a text message from I don't know who that said, do you need help moving the ghost from the jail on? Don't know who it was from. And I texted back, hell no. She killed her husband and 4 kids. Today she's my hero. Didn't hear Didn't hear another word. We've had the Newton gang, which was a famous brothers bank robbery. They've been in the jail. No activity from them. Now, if Matthew McConaughey, that played one of them, wants to have some activity, that's another story.
The only deaths in here would have been Anna, and then...
Well, I'm sure there were a lot of deaths. San Marcos had a really, really large KKK population.
Really?
And we had a hanging tree, and well, actually 2 hanging trees in town. We were 2 hanging tree town. And so there were a lot of hangings, but none legal, sanctioned, or recorded.
Wow.
How about inside the jail?
Inside the jail, the only deaths that I know of are the guy that was hung out here, Benjamin, the Tom, guy that was hung in the tree out here by the KKK, and then Anna are the only ones that I know of.
Wow. And the Tom was just lynched.
He was
for
a
no
black
reason,
man that was accused of raping a white woman.
and they just
hung him.
wow, that's dark.
Yeah.
And the KKK burned down the church that was close to here, right? The first
The
version
precursor
of that
to
church?
this one, yeah.
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 I would not expect that from San
Yeah,
Marcos.
and we actually, this has nothing to do with the jail, but a little side story. Roger's Funeral Home had 6 matched horses for their hearse, and there were only 2 people that could drive the horses, and it was a father and a son, and they were both African American. Well, the state Grand Master Dragon, whatever they're called, that lived in San Marcos passed away and was having a huge funeral, and they wanted the hearse with all the horses. They actually ended up, this kid, he was 12, named Chris, I think was his name, African American kid, dressed in complete KKK regalia, covered head to toe so that nothing would show, and he drove that hearse with that man in there to the cemetery.
An African American kid
Boy.
drove a KKK.
The Grand Master.
The Grand
state.
Master.
Yeah, and they said there are like
Wow.
3,000 more people here for the funeral. Huge,
my
ginormous
God.
thing. And that kid drove that hearse like 6 miles to the cemetery.
That's just insane.
Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And I trust him.
Dressed
Like a
in
KKK.
KKK regalia.
Oh my.
So just think of a gust of wind had come up and had like blown his hood off or
my
something.
Oh man, that must have been
Yeah.
nerve-wracking.
And for a long time, the story, like a couple of people would know about, like I'd heard the story, that kid's grandson passed away not very long ago, and a local historian, Rodney, he talked to Rodney before he passed away and said, I want my dad's story told, or my grandfather's. And anyway, so now we didn't talk about it at all because it just seemed so personal and I don't know, uncomfortable. But now we talk about it because the family asked us to.
And it is history.
Yeah, it just shows you just how twisted everything becomes. So anyway, that's a little San Marcos sidebar.
So at the end of the day, you would say that this jail's haunted, in your opinion?
No doubt, yeah.
And what makes you say that the most out of all of this?
Just the feeling that you just feel, like you feel it when you walk in. Like I know this is really stupid because I'm really kind of one of those bubble people. I never have anything paranormal ever. But it's like you just feel it. Like when you walk in, you know that there's something there greeting you. Mm-hmm. And when you leave, I always say goodbye because there's something I'm leaving behind. Mm-hmm. And everybody else, and not everybody, but a lot of people get that feeling.
Wow.
So
Well, I'm excited.
So-
I think we thoroughly covered the history. Thank you. Wow. I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah, that
How
was
about you?
really interesting.
Very.
It's just like the things you don't know. It's just always amazing to me.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
Well,
All
I'm
this
not just
history.
one, I'm a storyteller. I just like have, and
Yeah.
like all these little things just pop in my head all the time.
What do you think? This is your first true,
This is my
Tour
first
and ghost hunt?
real ghost hunt. I'm excited.
like, so fucking cute, too. Wow.
Colin and I are matching.
Yep, if you guys didn't notice before. Pink and white and tan. Oh, Jesus. It's kind of crazy. I mean, part of the reason why I wanted you to come out was because of our podcast.
Yeah, that story was crazy.
Yeah.
That's like a podcast worthy story.
Literally, yeah. Courtney and I, if you guys don't know, we co-host a podcast called Murder in America. You can listen on Spotify and iTunes, Apple Podcasts. I mean, anywhere where you can listen to podcasts, we tell murder stories. So tonight, hopefully, we can connect with Anna
Anna.
if she's in here
That'll be
and
sick.
tell her story too, because it's pretty wild. I didn't know about that entire tale until I started reading about this jail.
Right?
It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy stuff.
She hanged herself right here.
Yeah.
Way colder in here than it is outside for some reason.
Yeah, it is.
It's really cold. Like when you walk outside, it like immediately heats up, and then you step back in and you're just freezing all over again.
Weird. What are your thoughts so far?
It's really creepy. It's gonna be super creepy too whenever it gets dark.
Yeah.
But it's already really, it's weird energy in here already. So
It's just kind of thick, almost.
It
Like you
is.
feel like there could be something here.
and just even like the fallen walls, and it's like creaks when you walk on the floors, and you can just tell that some dark stuff happened in here.
What about this room? How do you feel in here?
This one's still creepy, but that room in there definitely is more heavy. This is the one where the lunatics were, right?
Yeah. This whole story, really, essentially.
Wow.
Women and lunatics. So you were, back in the day, you would have been both a
I would
woman
have been
and a
here.
lunatic.
I would have been in
You
this
definitely would have been in here. No doubt about
In the
that.
loony room.
What I'll say, it's just crazy. I know it's hard for people online to really get what I'm trying to get across to you, to kind of understand the feeling, but just if you can imagine just snapping back in time and just seeing a body, a lifeless corpse of a pregnant woman who already murdered multiple people. Just at one point in history, these are the original walls and everything. The body and the rope, or not the rope, the piece of clothing that she hanged herself with,
Yeah.
was right here. It's almost just eerie to think about. You know, you see those, it's like there's almost a feeling kind of right here too that I get, like a kind of warmth, or like a static energy on your skin. It's like very cold right here, but I noticed this during the interview, but like right here it's kind of just, it's not as cold. Like step over here and just see if you feel what I'm talking about. Kind of like right here. It's like there's a little bit of a breeze almost, but like right here.
And none of the windows are open or anything. It's
No.
just...
I don't know why right here it's
And
just,
it was also really weird when she was telling the story of Anna. I literally couldn't stop envisioning like a swinging woman hanging from because I was standing right here and she was standing right there, and I just kept having this image of like a swinging dead woman
Yeah.
hanging from the ceiling.
it's because she was right here. One
It's
day
dark.
she was right there.
And it's crazy how she was so sad that she was going to be put to death for killing children, and then she hanged herself,
Yeah.
like with a child inside of her. So
Yeah.
she
Weird
couldn't have felt that bad.
paradox there. Well, let's go downstairs
All
and
right.
look.
All right.
This tree is the lynching tree. And they cut it down.
They say that they cut it down, and that's what grew back.
Wow. That's crazy. Christ. Oh my God. Jesus. Oh. Just getting a B-roll shot and that dog scared the hell out of me, man.
Is this where I get to explain the meaning of the word Dingledorf? We have a prime example.
Jeff's got a little tension in his system tonight, so before this investigation, I'm gonna get it worked out of his system.
No,
Yes.
I'm just thinking a lot of people haven't seen a Dingledorf.
Dingledorf Colin.
How the hell did I manage to grab the dead light before we
Oh,
walked
remember?
over here?
You're Dingledorf.
Oh yeah, true.
Yep.
Yeah, just Dingledorf things.
Just what they do.
Jeff, would you just explain to the folks online what the hell a Dingledorf is?
Just turn the camera around.
That's what it is.
Wow,
It's
that was
you.
good. That was a good one.
That was a quick on your feet kind of road trip.
Yeah.
Well, I've tapered my meds down, so I'm with it right now.
Well, Jeff, since you're so worked up tonight, I've brought you over to this beautiful little park so you can play around with the
that a
musical
damn mermaid?
instrument. Yeah.
Oh, is that-
It's kind of creepy, isn't it?
Oh my God. I didn't think there'd be a mermaid in San Marcos.
It's like that one picture of Cher. You know?
Very true.
What is that?
Wow.
Play me a tune on your.
If you could hold back time.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say a mermaid song.
Oh, I thought
No.
it was Cher.
Yeah, no, it is Cher.
Give me like a 20-second
I
stare.
think it's Marilyn Monroe. Or no, I mean Marilyn Manson. That's insane.
Okay, give me a stare. Let's have a stare down here.
Okay, I gotta get the stance.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm feeling something. She's too powerful.
What the hell? Yeah, right. Okay, Courtney, let's have you do a little stare down. Come on, get real up with it. How does it feel? Does this speak to you?
I'm intimidating her.
It kind of looks like you.
Wow, thank you.
Well, this is because of the springs in San Marcos. There's a lot of water stuff here.
Oh, really?
Jeff, I thought needed some stress relief.
Okay. It's not doing a lot for my stress.
Hey, look, just be calm, Jeff.
Okay.
Just let the cooling waters
I do like it.
bring your pain away.
Why is there a mermaid here?
ASMR.
Yeah, right. You gotta be like,
You're channeling Yanni for all the older folk out there.
here, look, this is what I'm envisioning here, right? So this scene is just kind of a throwaway. Jeff, you go hit that one over there. Courtney, you get on that one. Let's have a harmony little tune to bring in the spirits.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, let's do some ghost hunting, folks. The jail is pretty spooky, though. You know? Just being in there when I was shutting that door just now.
And I think that perch is amazing.
Yeah. I'd love to get in there, man. What was that noise?
Yeah, what was that? I can hear a woman's voice.
Yeah,
I can't make it out.
Yeah.
What?
Not just the one light had been going on, but then it was just all the lights were bring, 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 bring.
Even the one in the big one?
Did you want us to come back in? See?
Children. What is that squeak?
I know. Anna, did you like to...
Shut up! Oh, there he's got his hand. Look at it.
She's like squirming around like she's being hung.
Look at it. It's from the ceiling.
Hello.